everyone. So hope I am live right now. Okay, so you can just type in the comments if everything is good, if we are good to go. So do not mind my background right now, and I'm really happy to welcome all of you to the second session for Hack the League Hackathon. And since the last session was really a great one, we talked all about diversity and inclusion, the kind of impact that we have created in the community. I'm really thankful for Simran and Nandita for joining us. And today, the kind of session that we will be having right now is something most of the, especially the freshers, demanded most about it because they are totally new to the hackathon ecosystem and they really want something to move forward before they get into hack the league environment and before they get to any hackathon. So with that, I have to ask the best that I know about hackathons, and I know so many of you will already know Aditya, but and let me invite Aditya directly to the stage and let him talk about his own introduction. Hi, Aditya.
Hey, how's it going? How are you doing?
Yeah, doing great, Aditya. How are you? And thank you so much, Aditya, for joining us. It's really great to have you. And I can see that your background is right now, not so Harry Potter background.
Yeah,
So, folks, I we have Aditya here, and I know that I have some folks from my university, especially freshers, joining us. Like looking forward to, or maybe the recording in the future. And the one thing that you all have had in your mind about hackathon is that we don't know anything about it. What type of projects, how to actually hack your way out of a hackathon, how to know more about a hackathon, like what kind of projects it is there, and so for that we have Aditya here. Aditya's journey in hackathons has always been an inspiration, and I think the one thing that we all know about Aditya is also one of the national winners of Imagine Cup 2021, and that because work speaks for itself. And from now, I'll take the backstage and let Aditya share about his own journey and inspire all of you. So yeah, Aditya.
thanks a lot for the introduction, Jatin. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. It's really nice to see folks here. I see Hemantika's there, Simran, um, Pragya, Ayush, Vineet. Hey, everyone. Always lovely to see all of you folks here just joining these sessions, having fun. We love it. We just like the chat, and I love seeing that happen. So um, throughout this session, that's going to be one thing. Just stay active in the chat and let me know wherever you have any doubts, any queries. I'd love to keep a track of them as the session goes as well. um, I think with the topic hack your hackathon, it's definitely a really helpful one for anyone who's just starting off in the hackathon world as a hacker. So there is some content I'll be sharing with you. There are some slides I'll be showcasing, just talking through my own experiences. These are all tips that I've learned, having made a lot of these mistakes myself. So I hope it's going to be helpful. And yeah, I guess I will just bring up my screen once. So that way we should be good to go. All right, I think the slides are up. Great. We can go ahead now. So, hack your hackathon, that's the topic we have. That's what we're discussing today. Now, I know Jatin already gave a nice little introduction for myself, but once again, I am Aditya Oberai. I'm currently a development engineer at AppRight, which is an open source backend as a service. So, if you're hacking and you're a front end developer or a mobile developer, it's worth a look. Trust me. Aside from that, I am a hackathon coach at Major League Hacking. I assist organizers and hackers and help conduct some of our own hackathons there as well. I'm also a Gold Microsoft Learn student ambassador. So those are a few of my highlights. Aside from that, I am now a part of 12 Years Champions program as well as a Google Developer Student Club lead. So there's a few different things there. I just wanted to keep stuff focused a little more towards areas where I've worked more with hackathons. Uh, I think two of the biggest highlights for me from the hackathon community and my experiences are that I was the organizer of Hackon, which is arguably the largest student-led virtual hackathon in India. We had over 8,200 registrants in our last edition. So that was really cool. We had a ton of fun there. Along with that, Jatin mentioned earlier as well, I was the national winner for the education category at Imagine Cup 2021, which is one of the largest hackathons in the world. So beyond that, you can connect with me at my website there. I've shared it, so you just feel free to go there. I have all my socials listed, so you can always connect with me at any point of time. So I think with this topic, Hack Your Hackathon, the first thing that we should discuss is that what really is a hackathon, right? A hackathon is essentially a development marathon. Based on my perception, based on my experiences, it's really a development marathon that is designed to push builders, creators, developers past their limits of creativity, imagination, and technical know-how to create really cool products and solutions. In simpler words, in a short period of time, you're going to be sprinting to build and get something together, a little project or an application that solves a problem, or really just something that you're having fun with. It doesn't even have to be serious all the time. But yeah, that's really what a hackathon is. So that being said, there are some to-dos, as I was mentioning earlier. There are going to be some to-dos, some tips that I wanted to share. So I'm going to start with those now from this point, now that we've defined what a hackathon is. So my first to-do is really, when you're at hackathons, it's necessary for you to go in with a well-rounded team. That's the first tip to hack your hackathon. Typically, most hackathons allow teams of up to 4 or 5 members. It's always good to have a team of at least 3 or 4 members. Um, Again, this is dependent on the allowed limits of a hackathon. I am considering four as that is the average that I've noticed. If it's larger, sure, that's totally good. But your team should be as large as it can be, based on the limits, because what happens is that in a hackathon you're building in a very short amount of time. So uh, it's not that you can't hack solo. Some hackathons actually allow that as well, and it's not discouraged necessarily. But what a large team will let you do is it'll allow you to cover a variety of skills. It allows you to discuss better, ideate better, brings more ideas onto the table. So that actually makes your overall development process throughout your hack a lot better. It makes it easier and quicker, right? Because instead of one mind, it's 3 or 4 working at it. That's not too many cooks. Just is not enough to spoil the broth, but it's a good balance there. And um, that being said, these teams should be diversified. There should be a few different roles, at least that you need to cover. All right, so if I talk about roles that you should cover when you're building your team, the 4 roles that I definitely recommend having are a developer, B an emerging tech person, C designer, and a big picture person. So your developer would typically be a full stack web or an app developer. That is mandatory. That's pretty much mandatory. If you're in a tech hackathon, if you're in a hackathon that is aimed at developers, like Agus League here, um, you know, then you'll need a developer in your team, because they're going to be the ones who are building the necessary functionalities to ensure a working product. Secondly, you need someone with experience in emerging tech, because typically a big aim of hackathons is to develop innovative solutions, right? In most scenarios, especially this one. So in this case, having knowledge of at least one emerging technology, whether it's ML, AI, blockchain, Web3, or cloud, or any other like AR, VR, it's going to provide an advantage, because these technologies are emerging primarily because because they allow you to solve problems that weren't easily solvable in the past. C, you will need a designer. Your designer is the one who designs a user interface and experience for your solution to ensure that the product you're creating is actually usable by your target audience. And if suppose you have a UI UX designer with some front end experience, that's going to be like a perfect add on to your team. It does matter how what UX your solution has. It is actually crucial to your hacks, because That's what your judges, what your peers will perceive as they observe what you build. The fourth, not something that every team has kept, but is something that I feel should be there in every single team, is a big picture person. Even if the product that you've developed is top notch, absolutely great, polished, it must display a vision in the grand scheme. Otherwise, it will fail to make an impact. What happens is that sometimes you're gonna create a really cool solution without fitting it to a problem. So, I mean, without actually having a problem behind it. So, you're just trying to fit it to a problem. And what happens here is that a lot of times your hacks, your solutions become ones that actually people can't relate with. Now, the picture person is essential, especially in your ideation and your demoing, because they ensure that when you ideate, when you think of these problems, when you decide what to build, they help you understand how, uh, what sort of an impact your solution can actually make, what sort of impact the problems you're trying to solve need, and that makes sure that your hack is something beyond just another piece of tech. Now that these four roles I've talked about, I will say that these roles don't have to be individual people. You could have someone with multiple of these experiences. Like in my hackathon teams, for example, back at Imagine Cup, um, it was three of us. Simran, it was there in the chat. Simran was there. There was Ekansh Gupta and I. So within us, there were a couple of people who were developing regularly. I was doing more back end work. Simran was doing more front end work. On emerging tech, we had all three of us had some sense of cloud experience. Ekansh was doing a lot more on that front as well. Um, on the design front, Simran was really the sole charge. And for the big picture, Ekans and I had worked a lot on that front, with Ekans taking more of the lead, and it really helps. But it doesn't have to be just individual people. You could have people covering more than one of these roles as well. But these roles should be present, is what I mean. So next up, you need to maintain proper communication and in team leadership. It's really necessary to build a relationship within your team, uh, so that your in team communication is comfortable. If that's not the case, what's gonna happen is that with the hackathon, with the time period that you have, you're not going to be able to communicate comfortably. You will not be able to discuss comfortably, uh, and then it's really just a few individual people working on their own ends, and it doesn't come together. Secondly, it's crucial to mutually pick a team leader for the hackathon. And this is something I recommend at the start of the hack or before the hack. Please don't wait for this until you're in the middle or through, because what happens is that it's a hackathon, or the other crisis is going to happens every time with every single hacker. And if at these points, at these crises where you and your discussions, your team might be a little divided, if you don't have a leader, they're not going to be able to solve or split or make that final decision. And that's also why I mentioned mutually here. It's someone who your entire team needs to be comfortable with, so that at the end of the day, if on a split vote they pick a decision, your team has to be comfortable with that call. So it's necessary to decide that. Third, plan the product you intend to build. Most people don't do this. I haven't done this in a lot of times as well, but please do. Please make sure that just before you jump into writing code, you actually think about what you want to build, what your flow of work is going to be. um, at least have something rudimentary, even if it's not a very well defined formal document. Have something rudimentary. What's going to happen is that, again, it's a very short period of time. You need to understand what is crucial for your hack, what isn't, what your core features are. Otherwise, what happens is that in the flow of things, sometimes we get lost in tech. We feel, we're working on this, and a second thing could be very cool, then a third is even cooler. So you want to put everything together, but because there's no plan, it's just at the end, you have a pile of different things you've created with no way to integrate or have a cohesive system. And if that's the case, then your product fails. So please make sure you plan before your product before you start building it. Fourth, develop an MVP of your planned product. Now, MVP stands for minimum viable product. What it means is it's gonna feature the bare essentials that make your product a complete product of its own, while also containing a feedback mechanism for your audience, so that that assists in future development. So first, in a hackathon, what you should do is always build an MVP and you know get those essentials done. Like I said earlier, right, when we're planning, sometimes it's just that there are so many different things that come to mind that it's very easy to get lost if it's unplanned. Now, what an MVP ensures is that it lets you understand what's necessary for your solution at the minimum to ensure that it stands as a solution of its own. And that way, once you build this, you can keep improving, adding something else that you think is cool, and then continue work on it. But having an MVP will make sure that you have a submission, a complete submission for your team at the minimum. You're gonna at every hackathon you see there are these sponsors with different APIs, some software of their own with their own tracks, all of that. Please experiment with them. What happens is that these APIs and products are essentially making your life easier as a hacker. There are often solutions we have where we feel we want to create from scratch, but we are in a time crunch, right? So just for example, I regularly work with Azure, and I use one of Azure's services called Cognitive Services, which basically gives me out of the box um, APIs with AI functionalities. So if it's stuff like OCR for text extraction, or speech to text, or facial recognition, that sort of stuff. That's quite a lot in cognitive services. But basically, if I wanna achieve text extraction on even handwritten text, I can literally just make an API call to that API and use it. I don't have to write my own OCR solution that I then have to deploy and host, and then I, leverage that in my solution. So that's what these sponsored and just vendor APIs do. They make your life a lot easier. They make your life a lot quicker. They decrease your grunt work, right? Because what you'd end up doing there is just repeating uh, the stuff that has already been built in the past. When you have access to these APIs already, why not use them? I think even Hemantika mentions they're really helpful. And like a lot of these, if there's a sponsor joining your hack and they have their own API, chances are they have a price. So might as well. That's an added bonus. You might just become eligible for a little token on that, of appreciation from the organization that offers those software or APIs. Sixth, yes, please. There are mentors at hackathons. Spend some time interacting with them. Okay, they're there to help you. It is literally their job for that duration. And interacting with hackathon mentors can be super beneficial. For example, back at the VS Code hackathon, which was the first ever hackathon that I won. So my team, we had a basic idea of what we wanted to do. We hadn't actually polished the idea. We connected with one of the mentors. We chatted. That person in the discussion literally handed the roadmap for our project to us. I don't know whether that was intentional, but effectively that's what happened. And you know even if we had built the same project which we planned to, had we not presented it in the way that our mentor had guided us, we may not have won that. Because this is something I'm going to tell you about later as well, how important your pitch becomes. But that being said, that was all credit to our mentor for helping us out. So it does help a lot. And honestly, making these connections uh, even goes far beyond these hackathons as well. You can end up building relations that continue forward, right? You're not just doing that for the duration of a hackathon. You just try connect with these folks in the future if you ever need help, whether with your careers, whether with these technologies and beyond. you can always reach out. That's what your networks are for, and these are the perfect people to network with, because chances are they're sitting with quite a lot more experience than us. Seventh, of course, please network with your fellow hackers. I think, when we talk about hackathons, at hackathons, we will always see a lot of talented, creative, passionate, hardworking participants, individuals who are coming together, right, to build and to compete for these common solutions. So we already have folks who are who have similar motivations, and if you're going to connect with these folks, you can learn from them, you can help them out, interact with them. It These relations really go a long way, because if I talk about myself, I have often met some friends I have right now were people I met at some hackathon, and we just connected and chatted, and we just kind of realized that we all gel very well together. So you can actually just end up building some really amazing friendships apart from your networks. I think one example of that, you've probably seen Shivai Lamba and I hanging out, and the first time we interacted was at Hack MIT. So that's like, we interacted for the first time at a hackathon. We just built a great friendship out of that, and that's what happens. Before I go to the next slide, I see Dave has a query around how to get mentors for the hackathons. So if it's from the perspective of an organizer, you can really find a lot of folks who are active in communities and tech on Twitter and LinkedIn. You can reach out to them. If it's from the perspective of a participant, your organizers will actually bring some mentors to your hackathon, probably. That's a responsibility of the organizers. And I think by now it's really become quite a convention, because I don't think I've seen a hackathon in recent times that does not have mentors. I am not 100% sure if even with company led hackathons, you tend to have office hours or some forum where folks can discuss or reach out. So that's definitely there. I see Ayush has a question as well. I'll take Ayush's question and then I'll hop over to the next slide. So when we talk about certain fields like cybersecurity, see, different fields are going to have their own dedicated competitions as well, right? So if suppose you could actually build a hack that enables better security for different systems. I've seen some hacks try to achieve that by I actually saw a hack that was trying to create a proxy through a Linode server or a VM that they had to enable better privacy. So that's an example of what you could do from a perspective of cybersecurity. And that being said, if you have a domain like that, you're probably going to have dedicated competitions like capture the flags and all of those, right, as well. So different domains have their own different competitions and arenas of competition. So you could always look for those. But yeah, if suppose you're a cybersecurity expert and you come to a hackathon and you don't find something that's necessarily relevant to cybersecurity, it's always a good place to just learn and meet with people anyway. There's place for everyone at hackathons. You don't even need to be a techie. You can come and learn. You did a sip of water there. Yeah, just keep that aside. All right, on to the next slide. Manage your health well. This is such an underrated point at hackathons. Amidst the pressure of time constraints and the urgency of a hackathon, we often forget to take care of our health. We're gonna mess up with our sleep schedule. We're gonna sleep 2 hours, 1 hour. Some people don't sleep. People forget to eat. And please, for your own sake, don't do that. It is very necessary to have proper meals. It's very necessary to have proper sleep in the hackathon. Like, just honestly, if it's a 3-day hackathon and you're not sleeping properly, by the time your final day comes, you're not gonna be efficient. You're not gonna be able to think straight, because the that's not how the human body is supposed to function, and you've got to take care of that. All right. And just an additional point, make sure to rest properly, sleep extra one day before your hackathon, so that you begin with optimum efficiency. It helps a lot. Honestly, at the start, if you're able to ideate better, if you're able to think better, It's going to give you a good boost and a start for the rest of your hackathon. Nine, participate in mini events. Yeah. So mini events, are there just like these are little activities that organizers keep to help hackers take a break and relax in the middle of a hackathon, because hackathons are great, but with that sort of pace in that short timeline, they can actually get really stressful. And organizers typically keep these so that hackers can actually let off a little steam in the middle and just take a break. And more often than not, these mini events are going to have absolutely nothing to do with the overall goal of the hackathon. The only reason they're there is to ensure that the hackers are able to relax and, just to help you all prevent uh, burnout. And, it really just helps you detox. So that tends to be a good reason to participate in mini events. Also, chances are you end up meeting and networking with other hackers through these. So, yeah, participating in many events always is a good idea. Yes, I think I teased on this earlier as well, but please, with your hack, let your demo tell a story. And don't just leave it for the last half an hour, 15 minutes. Seriously. Your final presentation or demo, whatever is required. Like some hackathons require both, some only require a demo. But this is really like the cherry on the top of your cake. That is all the work you've done throughout the hackathon. And sometimes it seems like we've worked on the best tech in the world, demo or not, we are what we are. And frankly speaking, that's not the case. In more often than not, your demo is just as important as everything else you've done throughout the weekend, because when your solutions are judged, the primary two things that are looked at are your pitch and your demo video. People, we ask for code samples, typically GitHub repositories or any other Git repo. The reason for that is that it helps us verify whether your work has been done throughout the weekend or not. But beyond that, just for example, you might have two teams with similar solutions. One has worked with used React, the other has used Vue. At this stage, you cannot say one is better and other is worse, right? Also, if you might be a JS developer, your judge has Python experience, then see that's why that it's just what your code is. That of course it helps us understand and actually verify that you've done the work. The public repos help there, but your demo tells the story. Your demo helps us understand what you're trying to achieve, what your problem is. Um, and it's really what a good demo will easily give an all right hack the team over a great hack if the great hack does not have a good demo. The pitch, the way your solution is perceived, it matters a lot. So yeah, let your demo tell the story of the inspiration behind your product, the story of why you think about, why you want to build this, the story of your process behind this, and your vision for its future. It's crucial with the product here. Okay. I see there's a query by Priyanshi: to what extent does the monetary side of the hack matter? If this is to talk about is this about prices, I want to pause here for a second and ask whether this is about prices, because if that's the case, my next slides are literally going to cover this. So if you could just mention and message here in the chat, that would be great. I'm going to take a second here. I need a little more water before I jump to the next slide. So, but in the meantime, if you could just let me know, that would be great. If not, that's the side I'll consider, as we go into the next slide. Whew. Okay. That's so. Oh, all right. If I take this query, I'm gonna consider whether you know how the prices should be perceived, especially monetary prices. It's good that this question came up at this point because my next slide is all about maintaining a growth mindset throughout your hackathon. Um, it is crucial to understand that while winning a prize at a hackathon feels great, a prize is not the greatest thing you take back. Any hackathon you go to, regardless of whether you win or you lose, you've built something tangible there. There is some work product you come out of it. Chances are you've pushed your knowledge limits to understand that, to learn that, which means your experience is increasing, your knowledge is increasing, your exposure is increased. And the fact is that these help a lot more in the longer run. Your prices, they're gonna be cool. They feel really lovely. It feels nice. Honestly, it feels nice to win a prize. But the other things help a lot more in the larger scheme of things for you, for your personal development, for your growth. So, uh, you know, try to ensure you keep a growth mindset. Try to focus on your growth as your results come. Sure, they're gonna be sometimes you're gonna go in there, you're gonna feel like you wanna win. Um, it hurts sometimes like that, right? And I don't say that you shouldn't care about winning, but if you maintain a growth mindset, that way, as you grow, as you keep moving forward, your priority changes from just a little monetary prize or a little piece of swag to your personal growth. And that doesn't just help you in hackathons, that helps you with your career and your future as well. So try to ensure you keep a growth mindset. I am just at my last point, but before that, okay, I see Priyanshi has mentioned that her question was around monetization of the idea. So that's not a mandate in your hack. If you have a plan for that, if you see how it can be scaled in the real world, sure, you can mention it in your pitch. You don't have to monetize it during your hack. Typically, that's not going to be an issue. So don't worry too much about that. And even if you don't have a plan in the middle of your hack, it's okay. But if suppose you have something in mind and you can justify how that ensures your hack will become self-sustaining, might as well add that. It's not gonna hurt. I think Sneh also has a question on based on my experience. Will our hackathon projects add value to the resume? Yes, absolutely. If I talk about the projects on my resume, typically, at least if we're looking at development roles or experience, we tend to have projects on our resumes, right? Both the projects on my resume were built during hackathons. I mean, I continued a little on those projects afterwards, but they were all built in hackathons. Yeah. What happens is that you're trying to build some real world stuff in a hackathon. You're not trying to copy off a tutorial typically. Uh, that's also great for learning, but a project with a real world motive, whether social, whether commercial, does carry a larger impact. Along with that, you're collaborating a lot more in a hackathon. You might be working in a team. You can showcase how that happened. You're working with latest up to date tech. Typically, having all of that visible on your resume is always a good thing. It's never gonna hurt you. All right, so just at the final point now, and I promise you, the point I have now is the most important point in this entire deck that I have. If nothing else, please make sure you take this back with you. All right. So the most important point, the most important to do when it comes to hacking or hacks is to enjoy the hackathon experience. See, hackathons are opportunities for you to work with some amazing people on ideas that actually matter to you. You're building these because you want to build them, not because someone told you to build on this idea. If it matters to you, you're building it. If it doesn't, you're not forcing yourself, right? It's all by your will. And um, you know, if you get these opportunities, make sure that you're fully immersing yourself in them. Uh, because I think as much as any prize, any project, all of those are there from hackathons. I think the reason I really stick around this space is because I just enjoy, you know, collaborating, interacting with the mentors, interacting with my fellow hackers, all of that. It's really just a ton of fun, and that makes these occasions very special because they're productive, they're enjoyable. You do what you want to rather than what you're forced to. So they tend to be very positive experiences. So yeah, if nothing else, please make sure you take this back with you. Enjoy your hackathon experiences. Whew. That was, I guess, the last order from me. We can just take a few questions now, I guess, if we have any. I know there were a few questions in the middle, which is really cool as well. In case anyone wants to bring any question up, you can do so now. Aside from that, any info on this little piece of content that this slideshow that I shared about is actually available at the link on the screen right now. So I'm gonna throw this into the chat as well. You can visit this. It's a Medium article that I wrote on this topic, and you can visit this. You can read about it. Um, it has all the explanations that I have talked about here as well. I think I realized that with some streams, I guess with my personal account, it might not make the link clickable. I'm just gonna send this over to the organizer so that they can share it from the official handle as well once. Can tier 3 colleges get internship or good opportunities from hackathons? Sure, why not? There are hackathons that are there to recruit. And honestly, with uh, with the projects I've built, with the experiences that I've had at hackathons, when I've gone ahead and I've applied for roles, that experience is something I've used to validate my proficiency in my pref technologies. It's always going to help you. That's where your networking, that's where your project work, that's where focusing on that growth comes in, right? Because everything you're doing here is adding to your portfolio. It's something you can leverage at some point or the other. And you can honestly go on to Hacker Earth and find these opportunities. Hacker Earth or any other such platforms. I mean, Hacker Earth I mentioned because there are recruitment challenges there as well, which are hackathon based. So, yeah, you can get opportunities that way. You can use hackathons to help you get better opportunities. I think even with like the JP Morgan Code for Good has a hackathon which helps. That's an example. Aside from that, I think Zeta Hacks had some components for the winners as well, which was for Zeta Suite, which is I guess a subsidiary of DirectI. So DirectI. So yeah, there are different things that you can have a look at. Fixathon, Microsoft Fixathon for their support engineer recruitment. That also has a hackathon component from what I remember. And okay, so I guess that was it on that one. And how hackathons help students who want to have their own startups. You know, hackathons allow you to get a taste and flavor of actually what it means to build your own product, what it means to plan to on how you can solve a real world problem. So it really gives you on a very small it's a test bench for this essentially. In like in hackathons you can end up building solutions or products the way you would want to solve a real world problem. It's a great testing ground, right? So that's how hackathons can help, because it's going to have components of pitching, demoing, actually building, ideating, all of those, collaborating, plus a lot of the other stuff that I've probably talked about earlier. So hackathons are going to assist someone if you want to start your own startup but haven't actually built your own product or collaborate with a team like that. It's good exposure for you. What role should we focus on when we're starting out and what have varying skills? It's really what you enjoy. I'm not going to give you a specific role because I think I am doing something that may not be a conventional role, right? I'm in developer relations. I'm a DevRel engineer at App, right? Developer relations is by no means a conventional role. So if I give you a specific role and tell you to start on that, you're gonna focus yourself on that, and constrict yourself, and that'll close you off from actually perceiving and experimenting, which would effectively be the exact opposite of what I've done myself. So I'm not going to be hypocritical there. I think for now, it's if you're a student, just you know pick one that you like, and enjoy with those technologies. All right, Ayush, just enjoy with them, and you're gonna figure out what works best for you. And as far as roles go, that should be present in the team except for the tech. You can check out the resource I've sent. I talked about this earlier, so you if it's on YouTube, you can just rewind back and find the different roles I talked about. Aside from that, check out the document I shared, the article. It has information on the different roles. Thanks, Ne. I saw Dheeraj's comment as well. Thanks, Dheeraj. Do we have any other queries as well? I mean, even if not, I guess we can end this as well. Um, so yeah, thank you for hanging around and watching this. I think this was fun to talk about. It's a topic I really like speaking on anyway. Helping, you know, share on how you can get started as a hacker. Because all of these stories that I've shared are all from my own experiences. So yeah. Okay, I see one more query. According to me, what is the one most important thing for going to any hackathon? On what terms do you mean one most important thing? Uh, there are a lot of components that bring these together, right? There's no one single thing. There's a lot of things that come together. So I wanna understand from what point or what perspective, um, the one most important thing means. If is it pertaining to the team? Is it pertaining to the hack? Is it pertaining what exactly? Because this is a very very open broad question here. Whatever skills you're best at, what it should. Okay, so when we build products, I think we've often been in a world where we choose our tech first and then decide what to build. That's not how you build a real world product. You don't define your skills first, you define the problem first. So if that's the point, then your problem is going to be the most important. Then you decide how to solve it. Then you break down the different aspects of the solution, and then you decide what technologies you want to use to solve these individual aspects. So your skills are going to be decided later, and if you don't have a certain skill, you just learn. The want to learn, I guess, should be the most important thing in that case, because that's what you're going to be doing at a hackathon. You're not just going to be playing around with what you know, but actually pushing your knowledge limits and your skills. You can actually come without any skills and end up building something as well. Guess that should be about it. Sounds good, Jatin.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aditya. And it was a really great session. All the pointers that I personally know that has covered many things. Like as a fresher, you don't know where to start the hackathon journey. You don't know the things about hackathon. Sometimes we think like let's just stay awake for 24 hours straight for 30-hour hackathon and let's code all the time. We have some small pointers that no one tell us about unless or until we go to a hackathon and experience that, which will take so much time, and maybe we miss opportunities. So sometimes people are like, what we will get out of a hackathon, like, so all these things are, so much in a summarized manner is like, that's why I always like, even in my college groups, I say, you wanted to know about hackathons, so we have the best with us. And that's why I called you out for this, because I know the journey and the pointers especially that you have had in hackathons, and all those things are definitely going to help folks. And I can see that in chat that definitely folks liked it, and there were some really good questions about it. So thank you so much, Aditya,
Questions
to
were
be a
good.
part of this.
And honestly, I can assure you, every single to do's is based on a mistake I've made in hackathons. So yeah, I've made all of these mistakes myself at some or the other point. And so, if you ever feel that you've not done this in the past, it doesn't mean you're a bad hacker. It's something that you
Definitely.
learn along the way. You don't have to know everything in one go, right? That the whole point on skills that I was talking about. I used to think that way, that I'm gonna decide, look at my skills and see what I can do, but it works the opposite way, and that's how you end up learning through hackathons. So yeah, that's totally cool if you've not done this in the past, and it's okay if you're not able to achieve every single one every single time. It's just, these are guidelines that you can try. And thank you so much, Shubhang,
We
for
have
that.
Aditya saying, Aditya fans in the comments. I can see that. I was like, Himantika was there as well. She was there, like, so
Simran
if
came,
folks are
Hamantika came,
here,
I saw.
and if you feel like Aditya has given a great session on hackathons, then I think एक बार तो बनता है, Aditya Sir OP in the chat.
Yeah.
This is necessary thing, because I always love the kind of sessions that Aditya gives in hackathons, and I know, because if you want to check out Aditya's more sessions in the past, the Aditya's LinkedIn is always there in the chats, and Aditya is always giving sessions around hackathons and .NET and so many stuff, and you can always find Aditya there in Devrel cons, like sharing more deeper knowledge and pointers about hackathons. So it's always a great like experience to go to like all these sessions. And I remember Aditya recently gave, like, to unpack the Ignite,
Yeah,
Microsoft Ignite. That
that
was
was
also a
nice.
great one. And I can see a lot of OPs in the chat as well. And yeah, like, that was
Very anime
amazing, Aditya.
references
And
coming in. Sorry,
yeah.
I haven't watched anime
Yeah.
to recognize understand that, Shubhang.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess we had something. But thank you so much, folks. And with that, I would like to end it. And thank you so much for joining, and hope you have been there. And okay, thank you so much, folks, and thank you so much, Aditya.
Thanks a lot for having me on.